ladies and gentlemen, and video game lovers of all kind, and welcome back to the channel. As always, I am your host, Brett Murphy, and for today's video, it is going to be another one of my end of the year / new year videos. And in this one, I'm going to be covering my top 10 most anticipated video games of 2022. So I've already done my favorite movies of 2021, my most disappointing movies of 2021, and my most anticipated movies of 2022. However, you may notice I have skipped a few steps and landed right on the most anticipated video games of 2022. And that is because, truth be told, I really didn't get around to much gaming this past year. So major fan favorites like Ratchet & Clank, Rift Apart, and Resident Evil Village I actually didn't get to play through. However, this year I do plan to put a much bigger emphasis on gaming, both in my personal life and on the channel. And we're starting that off by counting down my most anticipated. Looking at 2022, if everything that's supposed to come out actually comes out, it looks like it's going to be a massive year for gaming. With sequels to some of the biggest games in recent memory, to fresh new takes on familiar IPs, and bold new IPs from fan-favorite developers. 2022 looks like it is going to be a doozy for us gamers. And now, with all that being said, let's hop right into things. So firstly, as always, I am a bit of a cheater when it comes to these top 5, top 10 sort of lists. Meaning that, yes indeed, I do have a few honorable mentions that I do want to address first. And those are Forspoken, Elden Ring, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, no, not that Modern Warfare 2, the Modern Warfare 2 that's a sequel to Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, Redfall, and the Callisto Protocol. And now, number 10, The Wolf Among Us 2. Telltale's The Wolf Among Us Season 1 is my second favorite Telltale game. Now that might not seem like much praise, but when Telltale is among my favorite developers, and Telltale's The Walking Dead Season 1 is in my probably top 3 to 5 favorite games of all time, that is pretty high praise. I love the world of the Fables. The twists on classic fairy tale characters is brilliant. I adore the neo-noir aesthetic. And the storytelling is dark, twisted, and captivating. And yes, I do know that this is based off of a comic book series as well. Although I'm not entirely confident that this will actually release in 2022, the cliffhanger that Season 1 left us on, well, Season 2 is long overdue. Number 9, Atomic Heart. This is another entry that probably would be closer to the top if I was actually confident that it was going to come out this year. The first BioShock is my favorite game of all time, and although this isn't by any of the same developers that I'm aware of, this really does look and feel like a spiritual successor to that. With elements of course, BioShock, the Prey remake, Dishonored, and Fallout, all wrapped up in a 60s dystopian Soviet Union aesthetic. If this game ends up being even half as good as I'm expecting, then we're in for a real treat. Number 8. Gotham Knights. To be truthful, I am having mixed feelings on both the look and feel of this game, but I am such a huge fanboy of Batman in this world that I can't help myself. Being able to play as these 4 characters is a refreshing approach to a Gotham set game. The character design, neon-lit aesthetic, and story all seem fantastic. It is the gameplay that I am worried about. Like, are they going to be able to make these characters' play styles feel different enough from one another? Is this more cartoony, over-the-top, almost RPG-like style of combat going to work, where we've become so accustomed to the Arkham and Insomniac Spider-Man style of combat? Don't get me wrong, I am very excited about this one, but also very apprehensive. Number 7. Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League. This is another game set in the DC universe that I am very excited but also very apprehensive about, only this time around it is the opposite of Gotham Knights. As in, the gameplay looks excellent. Rocksteady have proven themselves time and time again. The graphics look nuts. The game and the world look more expansive than anything we've ever seen from them. But it is the story that I am worried about. I love the idea of playing as the Suicide Squad, and I love the characters that they chose to go with. But we have to remember that this is set in the same world and timeline as the Arkham series. So, like, where does this fit in? Why were none of these characters ever mentioned before? To me, it just seems a little too out there to be included in this universe. I hope I am proven wrong, but I guess we'll find out. Number 6. Starfield. Although this is yet another that I am not overly confident will actually release this year, it's a new Bethesda IP. So how can we not be absolutely psyched out of our minds? Unless you're a PlayStation player, of course, because rumor has it that this is going to be an Xbox and PC exclusive, at least for a limited time. And rightfully so, after Xbox paid $7.5 billion for Bethesda. It's set in space. I love space. And they made big promises for this one. Possibly the biggest promises that they have ever made. Even though we have all been burned by Bethesda more than once, I am still hopeful that this game will live up to its fullest potential and the hype. Number 5. The Outlast Trials. This is probably a very controversial pick and an even more controversial placement when you look at everything else that has come before it on this list. However, the first Outlast is my favorite horror game, and I felt the Whistleblower DLC was a worthy successor. Although, yes, I do sadly think that Red Barrels dropped the ball with Outlast 2, this one looks to be heading back to the original Outlast roots, being set in a hospital/asylum. However, the biggest new addition, and the one that I am most looking forward to, is that this is a co-op game. So Outlast with friends sounds amazing to me. Hilarious and horrifying. Count me in. Number 4. Horizon Forbidden West. This sequel looks truly breathtaking. From what we've seen so far, it seems like everything that Guerrilla is promising is coming true. A bigger, better, bolder sequel. A more expansive world, more unique robotic creatures, a larger story, and even more of everything that we loved from Zero Dawn. Number 3. Hogwarts Legacy. I am a massive Potterhead. The Harry Potter book and film series are among my favorite franchises out there. I've been watching the movies since I was a little kid, and I've been reading the book since my early teen years. And this finally looks like the Wizarding World game that we've always wanted. A sort of choose-your-own-adventure game where you decide what kind of witch or wizard you want to be. Where you get to explore the halls of Hogwarts and the surrounding grounds for yourself. This feels like the closest any of us are ever going to get to receiving a real-world Hogwarts letter, and I don't think I could possibly be more excited. Number 2. Dying Light 2. And this is another that is probably a controversial pick and an even more controversial placement. I may sound like a broken record here by referencing all of my favorites, but the first Dying Light is indeed my favorite zombie game. Unless, of course, you count The Last of Us, then that would be my favorite zombie game, but I personally don't really count it as like a hardcore zombie game. That game is more focused on the story. Games that I think of as zombie games are like Dying Light, Dead Island, Left 4 Dead, or Back 4 Blood. So if we're going by that, then yes, the first Dying Light is my favorite zombie game. I played the first game more times than I could ever possibly care to count. I've explored every single crack and crevice of Haran, and I have been itching for more ever since. This game has been delayed an undeniably frustrating amount of times. But if it's all in the name of improvement so that they can deliver the sequel that we're all hoping for, then I'm all for it. The team of developers seems confident, and they've been very open and interactive with fans. And this gives me the confidence that they can deliver. They are promising lots of what other studios on this list already have. A bigger open world, a story where your decisions matter and shape everything around you. Smoother gameplay, more crafting, so on and so forth. Fingers crossed that this ends up being everything that I've wanted it to be after all of this waiting and patience. And number 1, God of War Ragnarok. God of War 2018 won the Game of the Year award for a reason. It was voted by the fans as IGN's best game of all time for a reason. I may not agree with it because it is not my own personal pick as the best or favorite game of all time, but it is definitely in my top 10. Because it is perfect. Flawless, a masterpiece. This is its sequel, made by the same team except they now have accumulated 4 years worth of knowledge since the last one. They don't need to make promises. We know what to expect, and I can honestly say that this is the only game on this list that I have no doubts about whatsoever. So that is all for today's video, folks. Be sure to let me know down in the comments if you agree or disagree with my top 10 most anticipated games of 2022. While you're at it, feel free to let me know what are your most anticipated games of this upcoming year. If you enjoyed that video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. And if you'd like to see more content, consider subscribing to my channel and ringing that little bell icon. That way you can be notified about all of my latest uploads. And as always, stay safe. Thank you so much for watching. Happy New Year. And that's a wrap. Hey you, yeah you, if you made it this far, just know I appreciate you. And while you're here, consider hitting that subscribe button.